shoes. You could cry a river standing in my shoes.
American democracy has suffered a bit of a kicking in recent years. Since 2000, the Republicans have been accused of stealing the presidency. The Bush administration has been heavily criticised over the war in Iraq.
Yeah, no, I'm ashamed to be an American.
And even grassroots democracy has been affected. In 2002, Jim Traficant, Democrat congressman for nearly 2 decades in northeast Ohio, was sent to prison for 7 years for abuse of his position.
In April, the 9-term Democrat was convicted of racketeering, bribery, and tax evasion and faces several years in prison.
He traded his official office and powers repeatedly for money, free labor, and equipment at his farm and other things.
But, this being America, he was still free to run for office again and was standing as an independent from prison.
Congressman, will you continue running for re-election no matter what?
I will be on the ballot. The people in my district will have my name on the ballot. And if they vote for me and I get the majority of votes, then there'll be a hell of a stink, won't there? If the truth comes out and I'm on the ballot, you're looking at the first American in history to serve a constituency from a prison cell in America.
The 9-term congressman, despite being a laughingstock to much of America, was a hero in many eyes. A colourful Robin Hood character who had taken on the might of the federal government and won.
No American should fear their government, and this guy doesn't.
Many of his constituents believed that he was a scapegoat for a government angry at his audacity and were willing to elect him to serve from his cell.
I'm having some rectal disorders, as a matter of fact, as a result of this.
Traficant was therefore unable to hit the campaign trail, although his rather bullish supporters were on hand to offer their views.
I want Jim Traficant because he's the best candidate for the 17th congressional district. I don't even live in the district, but when it comes to border security and China and everything, Jim Traficant has always spoken what is right for this country and not what a political group wants him to speak.
Up against him was Ann Womer Benjamin, a 4-time state senator, an experienced lawyer who'd been selected as a Republican candidate. She hailed from outside the 17th district, and in this parochial part of Middle America, that was a major drawback. She was using television to try and raise her profile. Her party was running attack ads detailing her opponent's past conviction for using a fake ID as a student.
Including 2 disorderly conduct charges. And 3 years ago, when he tried to seal his criminal record, a judge was not convinced of the defendant's rehabilitation. Call Tim Ryan. Tell him to grow up.
She claimed the adverts had been run without her knowledge.
I had no control over that whatsoever. I didn't know they were coming, and I've only just seen it because someone taped it. It's not paid for by my campaign nor controlled by my campaign.
Despite requests, she refused to allow us close to her campaign, even using human shields to keep her away from my prying camera's eye.
I'm not perfect, but I do love this valley and I want to see it move forward.
The subject of the attack ads was Tim Ryan, a 29-year-old local boy of Irish-Italian descent with just 2 years' experience on the state Senate. He had unexpectedly won the Democrat nomination against the party's favoured candidate, Tom Sawyer, overcoming a huge deficit in the final days of May's primaries. From the outside, it appeared he had little more than family and friends assisting his precocious push for a seat in Washington.
And we have one thing on our side. We have democracy.
With older brother Alan as his campaign director and mum Rochelle keeping a close eye on proceedings. Ryan also promised to avoid negative campaigning. Since he first ran for the state Senate 2 years earlier, he had instead chosen to focus on issues, and other than responding to attacks on his integrity, he'd remained true to his word. Some doubted his grassroots approach.
A grassroots campaign? I think it's just a cliche. When you think grassroots, you don't think of hundreds of thousands of dollars, fueling a campaign. They jump onto the grassroots, and they don't really mean it.
The 3 candidates were competing in the first round of major elections since September the 11th. In Ohio's 17th congressional district, an area defined by football, parades and faded industry, they were battling it out for a place among the 435 representatives in the House of Congress.
Every day and night, I look around me, I'm afraid of what I see.
To get close to the action, I joined Tim Ryan on the campaign trail. and it soon became clear that the people of Ohio understood democracy, what it was and what it meant to them.
Because I believe in the democratic process, and I've been voting since the age of 18 and I've never missed a vote.
Democracy means freedom. The availability to do what you want, when you want, how you want, as long as you're not breaking any rules or any laws. And that's what democracy is all about.
Democracy, yep. So one vote, one person, one vote, one voice. Doesn't get no better than that.
However, this belief in democracy didn't mean those same people were flooding to the polls.
The sad part of it all is when you figure out how many people vote after this election is over, as compared to the number that are eligible to vote, it's sickening.
I don't understand the irony of democracy. We have all this freedom to vote, but yet half of us never do.
See, this group right here is like a perfect grassroots kind of group, the type of people you would want to get to start voting because they want to vote. Only thing is they just have lost interest and have become disheartened with the whole election process because they don't feel like it works for them.
There seemed to be a lack of faith in their politicians, hardly surprising given Traficant's recent incarceration. Attempting to overcome Traficant's legacy, Tim Ryan had enlisted the help of a motley mix of pensioners, college students and wannabe politicians. There was Tom Caroni, affectionately known as Shark, Tim's sounding board, confidant and butt of his jokes.
I got a mouth like a shark.
Stuff in your face. Look how big his head is. I mean, his head is enormous. Don't move. Don't look in the camera, you're gonna break the thing.
Tim and I don't refer to God as God. We refer to him as the Allied Supreme Commander.
Right.
And I talk to him all the time, and and I haven't been wrong 3 times.
We're not saying he's endorsed our candidacy, are we?
Yes, he has.
I want to be on record as saying I don't think God has endorsed my candidacy. Tom?
Yes, he has.
He has?
He has.
This beautiful young lady is my girlfriend, Julie.
This is the lowest of low. Goodbye to the world. I'm jumping out in front of moving traffic.
Dean Thomas, 502-7386. I enjoy long walks on the beach, candlelight dinners.
Dean Thomas, political manager, comedian and self-styled ladies' man, who enjoyed a love-hate relationship with 20-year-old student Jess Fishel.
I saw him kick a puppy the other day. It was the most horrible thing I've ever seen.
Dean, why did you kick the puppy? It wouldn't stop barking.
I've had it with you.
Champion.
You want to see a temper tantrum?
Get that fucking camera out of my face, Susan.
Politics student, baby Ryan Keating.
Always be in love.
Is that recording right now?
Yeah. If you see the red light, it means it's recording.
Just want to make sure you got me wiping my nose on my sleeve.
That's very grassroots.
Democracy. Democracy's ugly sometimes.
Former attorney and the male model of the group, John Stefan.
He's another disgruntled attorney.
Add to it. I had a full year of practice under my belt and then left it.
Just make us look cool.
This team shunned sleep and braved the elements for their man, never more so than when it came to Ryan's signature campaign technique, sign holding.
Tim originated the sign holding thing, and we have big signs and we go out in the morning and get people going to work, and we get them in the afternoon, and this week we're going to be outside of plants holding when people get off work, like at the mills or whatever.
So where did you get the idea to do this, Tim?
Up in New Hampshire. Bright young guy up there running campaigns. He told me to do it. I was campaigning for a state senate candidate. It worked.
It's the most effective way of campaigning. Like a commercial that you can't turn off.
You gotta work the corner. You can't be stationary. You gotta go from one side to another. How are you?
There's nothing like the first time you do it. You're just like, how stupid am I? How are you? Thank you. How are you? How are you? How are you? Thank you. Waves are votes too. If you wave, that's a vote. A peace sign, if they give you the peace sign, that means they support you, but they may not make it to the polls.
But above all, persistence seemed to be the key.
How are you? 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 you. They like me. They really like me. How are you? Babe, I hope it's going to snow on Friday. We'll be out in the snow. That's stressful. This is just cold as hell. Hot chocolate. How you like that?
That's really good.
Sorry, there's not one for you.
Standing on street corners brought recognition, but it was important to win endorsements from as many sections of the community as possible, particularly in an area with such a diverse cultural mix.
This area was originally a part of the Connecticut Western Reserve, where a bunch of white men from Europe came over and started steel mills. There was an influx of immigrations. There was original Germans, and then the Irish, and then the Italians, and the Greeks, and all settled here. And so it's a really diverse area of middle-class people who were able to earn a good living for many, many years, who now have seen their kids leave because of the lack of opportunity here.
You know, a lot of steel jobs have left here. There were once 20,000 steel jobs in Youngstown in that area, and there are probably now about 2,000 or 3,000 there.
I lost my daughter for 25 years because she couldn't find work here. She had to go out of town to find work.
I left this area because of the employment situation.
I lost everything that I had with LTV Steel. Bankruptcy, and took all the benefits off. Prescriptions.
Yeah.
Took the insurance off of us, everything. We have nothing.
All of a sudden, America has become stagnant. It's not for the people and by the people. You know what I mean? It's just for this Enrons. I call myself a true American. A true liberal American who thinks that the injustice in this country still prevail today, as it did to me when I went into the service, as I did when I went to school. It's still here today.
As the campaign in Ohio reached its final few days, radio interviews were 10 a penny. Yard signs carrying the names of candidates for every post imaginable sprang up in the driveways of homes and street corners everywhere. Newspaper headlines and endorsements came thick and fast, while television aired live debates and advertisements.
Hurricanes and aeroplanes and scary things.
The candidates, or in Trafficant's case his loyal supporters, had to be in 1,000 places at once, from college football games to Halloween parades, pensioners' dinner clubs to churches, and from labour organisations to the junctions of highways. To stand a chance at the polls, the candidates had to have a presence at every event in the district.
Look at these hands, man. Hey, the hawk, man.
Let's be low profile. Homer Benjamin.
You put yourself to shame. The song remains the same when you start playing games. You set your guns on fire without your men for hire.
Civil rights, right down the line, was led by the unions and the Democratic Party.
You got an appetite that keeps me up all night.
Government's there because in this country, we create it.
Donuts!
Everyday places and everyday time, everyday circle and everyday crime, everyday children of an everyday kind.
When the Ryan team hit the parades, they had a unique weapon, the Grassroots Express, a battered 1974 Dodge Winnebago. Picked up 2 years earlier, it had come to symbolise the grassroots approach. Fitted with carpets on the ceiling, it had been covered with homemade signs and mounted with a speaker system previously used by Kennedy, Nixon and Gore. It had become his unmistakable, if cumbersome and highly unreliable calling card across the 17th District.
Churches filled with crooks, there's jailbirds reading books every day. Everyday rhythm and everyday rhyme, everyday places. Everyday circle get children of an everyday kind.
Thanks to Trafficant's heavily publicised trial, both the local and national media were after a piece of the candidates. It was another way of securing crucial votes, so they found time to field the same questions over and over again, as well as some rather unusual ones.
Dr. Boyd Graves and others have discovered evidence of the intentional creation of the HIV/AIDS virus and other life-threatening diseases and targeting of black populations by agencies of the U.S. government. As a U.S. congressperson, will you support our demand for a full congressional investigation into this matter?
Absolutely.
That was quick and easy.
With 3 televised debates in the run-up to the election, Ryan met with the team at his mum's house to prepare, before making his way to the studio.
Would you have supported President Bush's resolution to go to war with Iraq?
No, I would not have voted for it. I'm extremely concerned that President Bush's chief of staff last January sent out a memo saying that war would make a good political issue in the fall. And we didn't hear anything about Iraq in the spring, we didn't hear anything about Iraq in the summer, and all of a sudden all Bush's corporate friends are getting busted for stealing billions of dollars from their clients. The economy's in the tank, and all of a sudden we pull Saddam Hussein off the mantle, dust him off, and we're going to war again.
I liked your answer.
So did I.
I think I think it was good.
Here's another good one too. We pay billions of dollars to the United Nations to help settle disputes like this, to help monitor rogue nations like this. Why do we have to always go in? Why is it always the United States? We pay a lot of money to this organization. That's a good organization, and we pay billions of taxpayers' dollars to it. Let them go in and handle the problem.
I like that.
If you question the government, you're somehow unpatriotic. I don't want our kids to die. President Bush is cutting the veterans' benefits by $250 million so 300,000 veterans don't get health care. So we'll send you off to war, but when you come back, you're on your own.
I like that.
These presidential-style debates offered the candidates the chance to go on the attack, something Benjamin took full advantage of, returning to Ryan's conviction for using a fake ID and claiming there were irregularities in his campaign financing.
The litany of campaign finance violations is not a personal attack. It is fact. And I think it's important that we look at those facts because the 17th District needs someone who takes this job seriously, not someone who, for whatever reason, whether it's ignorance or sloppiness or whatever, doesn't follow federal law.
Let me address some of the comments that Ms. Benjamin made in her opening statement. I think it's rather sad, and I think our generation is pretty sad of politicians who fail to talk about the issues, and so they have to resort to personal attacks. They have to play the same old political game.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
Okay. Take it easy.
She couldn't cope. She threw her best at you tonight, Timmy, and guess what?
Didn't work.
Didn't fucking work, baby. And that's what she thought she'd rattle you. He's a young guy, I'll rattle him. She's shit. She can't rattle you.
I mean, how about the answer is this? Where's the money coming from? Listen, these Republicans, they outraised Democrats 10-1, and there's one race where the Democrat outraised the Republican, and it's illegal. I mean, give me a fucking break.
With just days to go until the polls opened, the schedule was becoming increasingly hectic.
So we're going everywhere then?
We're going to go everywhere. We're going to go to barber shops, bingo halls, beauty salons.
The candidate's next port of call was a Stambaugh Auditorium in Youngstown.
As we sang in church this morning, I will close with these words. We will walk with each other. We will walk hand in hand. We will walk with each other. We will walk hand in hand. And together, we will spread the news that God is in this land. Thank you.
There's an old saying, I do not promise you ease, I do not promise you comfort, but I do promise you these: weariness, hardship, and sacrifice. And with these, I promise you victory. Thank you very much.
From there, it was straight to one of the area's many black churches. Here it became clear that, as in the 2004 presidential election, the idea that politics and religion in America are exclusive is far from reality. So in this deeply religious area, the candidates knew the importance of securing the church vote.
We're going to a Baptist church in Youngstown. Their pastors have a lot of influence over who they vote for. Some pastors, others don't. The one we're going to today does.
To speak of that which is by itself undeniably God is to speak of truth. If you cannot believe that in the beginning God created, you're going to have a lot of trouble in believing that a human man stretched the rod just about 5 feet and the waters of the Red Sea divided.
Thank you very much for welcoming us to your church. And you do have a great leader here, and I enjoyed your preaching, Bishop, very much.
I want to pray for you that you can fulfill your entire destiny. Fulfill it. You're going to need a supernatural power.
So does your opponent, Aaron Womer Benjamin, go to black churches at all?
Probably. Yeah.
Not as much soul.
Because we will walk with each other, we will walk hand in hand.
That afternoon was Youngstown State University's homecoming parade.
We're in a parade for the Youngstown State University's homecoming. A bunch of reporters. It's heating up. It's the last weekend, so everybody wants, the last weekend story.
For the candidates, it was a perfect publicity call, and also a chance to sample some fine Ohio hospitality.
This is called tailgating.
Right.
You bring booze. Would you like some? Spiced wine.
Okay, I'll try a little bit.
Compliments of Pat Zolka.
Okay, thank you.
And we just party outside until the game starts.
Yeah.
And then win or lose, we party after the game.
While Ryan moved from appearance to appearance, his team continued to spread his message.
After that.
All right.
We will go to a bingo or something in Youngstown and wait around until this thing is over and pass it out after that.
Okay.
Let's go! All right. We'll go to these bingos and shit. God, I'm swearing in front of fucking kids.
I want to thank the people of this union for your help, from myself, from Tim, and from the whole campaign. Excuse me, we would not be here without you, and I appreciate your help.
Next on his schedule was Kennedy High School's big football game. On the way there, Ryan offered his thoughts on American democracy.
But someone like me that doesn't have money, doesn't have influence. My dad wasn't in politics. My dad doesn't run a corporation. My family doesn't have a lot of money. I'm a middle class guy. Can have an impact and actually represent the average people without having to be forced to represent big money, special interest.
The game carried on late into the evening, but the day didn't end there. Ryan's earlier promise that it would get colder was no idle boast. He hit the freeways outside one of the district's largest employers, the huge General Motors plant at Lordstown.
Congress is giving directions.
Watching a man potentially hours away from taking a seat in the House of Congress giving directions to truck drivers in the middle of the night, it was easy to see why his team were willing to put themselves through the ringer. But why the need to hit the streets where most sensible people were tucked up in bed?
The people will go into the plant and talk about how we were out here, and then we'll come first thing tomorrow morning. The people coming in for day turn will say, hey, did you see Ryan out on the corner? And the people from midnight will say he was on there last night when we came to work. Which creates a nice buzz within the plant. The guy's going Homer. much more inclined to beat than the guys going to vote. But,
Well,
you're going to have that.
That's kind of understandable.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
So it was. As dawn broke, Team Ryan were back outside the plant.
This is grassroots.
We're going to the plant gate that we were at last night, as noted by the bags under everybody's eyes, including mine. They're going to think we pitched a tent. Same plant as last night.
On November the 5th, Americans were going to the polls to vote for everyone from governor to dog catcher. Across the country, they would be faced with different voting methods, and in Ohio, you didn't even have to leave the 17th district to find different systems. At the Trumbull County Board of Elections, they were still using punch cards, the same system that had played its part in delaying the result in the Bush-Gore battle 2 years earlier. Working step by step through the process, it became clear that mistakes could easily be made, and that the complex and time-consuming nature of the system could discourage people from voting. Just a few miles away, however, the electoral process was being hauled into the 21st century. At the Board of Elections in Mahoney County, a new electronic voting system was going to be used for the first time. If successful, it could be rolled out across the country.
My name is Mike Shortino, and I'm the director of the Board of Elections in Mahoney County.
Mike Sciortino, director of the board and Kennedy fetishist, took me through the potentially revolutionary process.
Bobby, are those my shoes that you found over Marilyn's house, or did you actually go find them yourself?
It said you can walk in anywhere. You can walk not anywhere, but you can registered voter, and you vote. And there's a lot of important decisions that get made every single day. It's scary. Look at the length of our ballot. I got 15 pages of candidates and issues. This is called PEB, Personalized Electronic Ballot. Poll worker will remove that, and then the voter is free to vote his or her ballot.
They just touch it?
They just touch it. And if they make a mistake, they just touch it again. Okay, I'm going to vote.
But do you think this is the future of democracy?
There's no doubt this is the future. We got it. So I love it. This is a 650 model, and it's pretty fast. It's pretty fast.
Does it make democracy cheaper then, or at least the election cheaper?
I don't think you can put a price tag on democracy.
Well, true, but what I mean is the...
We minimize the cheese ball thing.
As election day approached, the colourful character of Jim Trafficant hovered in the background, threatening to at least split the Democrat vote and boost Ann Womer Benjamin's chances, or, according to some opinions, become the first congressman to represent his constituents from a prison cell.
The dispatch also said that Trafficant had a shot. You gotta be shitting this guy.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm just the son of a truck driver. Ran for sheriff. Mob tried to beat me. I beat the mob with their own money. Justice Department took me to trial. Only American in history to ever defeat the Justice Department in a RICO case without being an attorney. They've hated me ever since.
He's helped a lot of people that I know. He really helped us a lot.
And I believe he's an innocent man. And just love Jimbo, that's all.
The achievements are significant. The achievements are overwhelming.
He was always there for the people. And I just feel that he got a bum deal, that's all. I think his punishment was much too harsh.
He's got my vote, and he should have everyone's vote because he's did more for this community than any other representative we've had, congressman.
If I didn't believe he had a chance, a solid chance, I wouldn't be bucking my head up against a brick wall. I firmly believe in my heart of hearts that once Jim Trafficant is elected on November the 5th, he will be allowed to serve.
Wholesome signs and his days just beginning.
With the campaign entering its final hours, Ann Womer Benjamin unexpectedly pulled her television ads. As Team Ryan pondered what this meant, the answer soon became clear. the Republicans were upping the stakes. In a last-ditch attempt to swing the election her way, they aired another attack ad against Ryan. In the first major election since September the 11th, the Republicans decided to play upon the electorate's fears, claiming that Ryan was soft on terrorism. The move backfired. By opening with shots of Ground Zero, the advert sent shockwaves through a society still incredibly raw about the events of just over a year ago. First to take a stand were local firefighters at a hastily convened press conference.
By George, I think we have more morality as Americans to stoop to that level. If you're going to be my representative, then dang it, you have the courage not to put an ad like that out there. Don't condone their actions. Don't support it across the media and say to the American, we're sorry that the brave firefighters and the brave police officers and all the civilians that died here, we're sorry. But then the next thing, you put it in the doggone newspaper and in the front page and you say, well, you know, we're after Tim. Well, you're publicizing what they did to those families. That's what you're doing.
You're not even dealing with issues. You're dealing with tragedy.
I mean, we all went through the hard time as it is when we lost 343 of our brothers back there on September 11th. But it made me sick when I saw it on TV yesterday. Literally sick.
And now you're just throwing that all over the television, you know, making it sound like she was there helping out. You know, that's not right.
I got no respect for her. Zero respect for her. And I'd want anarchy before if I was forced to vote for a Republican.
Buoyed by the firefighters' show of anger, it gave Ryan fresh impetus for the final push. So on the eve of Election Day, there was a quiet confidence around the Ryan team.
Everybody ready for tomorrow morning then too? Tom, go home and get some rest, will you? Quit checking your stocks, Tom. Steve. Yeah, you didn't make any money today.
Hit me with a quote for this is the night before the election, mate. Tell me.
I love your body, Jake.
Today is election day. I feel good. I feel real good. I went and gave Tim a poke today, this morning. No question. And I think we're gonna go ahead and blow this lady out. So it's time to get down and get busy.
Feel pretty good. I mean, at this point, there's no use in worrying about it. You just gotta kind of roll with it, and it's out of our hands. So
I cut my shelf shaving, mate. Look it. So I got this bust out.
Is that grassroots or is it just bust out?
Licking your lip and putting a piece of toilet paper on it to stop the bleeding, that is grassroots. Projected voting today is 55% in Trumbull, 45% in Mahoning, and only 20 in the 20s in Portage Summit. So where we're from is projected to be a hell of a lot higher voting today than where she's from. I mean, did she fucking throw everything at us or what? Jesus Christ. Phone calls, television commercials, I mean, the whole 9 yards.
I gotta hear the story, right? The one about the fake ID.
It wasn't even in a bar, it was in a dorm room. It was late, and there was like 4 or 5 of us, and we were gonna go back to this one person's dorm room. And there was someone sitting there, and I had a few sodas in me, and I gave him. You have to give him an ID in order to get into the dorm. So I gave him my fake ID. Then you had to sign in. So then I signed in. So the ID was my brother's, and it said Alan Ryan. And then when I signed in Tim Ryan. She goes, "Are you Alan Ryan or are you Tim Ryan?" I said, "Oh no." Well, a little bit of both actually. And so they started making it like a big thing. I said, "Just give me it back and I'll leave." And they're like, "Well, now wait a second. We just want to get into the dorm here. You know, you would think a college kid." So they started busting my balls. So I started busting their balls. And next thing you know, we got an incident. And cops are there. And
I get written up for presenting a false operator's license. Yeah. I'm a very bad person. Unfit for public office.
And yet to be rehabilitated.
Yet to be rehabilitated, yes.
This is election day. This is what it's all about. This is democracy.
So what are you going to do today?
Well, I think I'm just going to be helping Dean out with this Mahoney County elections, making sure that each precinct has enough literature and making sure that phone calls are being made to register Democratic voters who haven't voted today. That's what the real push is.
Just reminding you that today is election day and reminding you to
Hey! Yeah, I'm gonna have a little coffee. How are you, buddy?
Donuts?
Yeah.
Right there in the truck.
Yeah, I know, but why?
Well, they bring you coffee and donuts so you work harder.
Who's they?
These guys always handle us. Give us these donuts, we eat them, then we gotta go out there and work and hustle votes.
What do you think of the electronic voting?
Fine, it's good.
You came across no problems at all?
No, not too many. There was a lot to read in this one amendment or whatever.
I didn't notice any problems with my ballot at all. Might have been easier if people had a stylus instead of using their finger.
I think it makes it much better. It's much easier to use.
As the morning sun gave way to torrential rain, Ryan hovered outside polling stations whilst his increasingly fraught team encouraged rush hour drivers to cast their vote.
This sucks. I think I'm packing it in after this. Gonna go home and get cleaned up.
I need to become an AWB believer at this point.
Can I just point something out? I'm wearing bags on my feet. One more to the breach, dear friend.
So how's everyone feeling?
I'm excited.
I'm excited. Win or lose, I think we did a good job.
There's nothing else we could have done. If we lose, it was out of our hands from day one.
Yeah.
With tension mounting, the Ryan brothers stepped out of the rain and into their lucky diner.
We're Jay's Hot Dogs in Youngstown, Ohio. And we stopped here in the primary. And it was about this time, it was about 5 o'clock. And we stopped and have the last supper here. And we came here and we were nervous, didn't know if we were going to win. We asked the owner if we had a shot. He says, well, I voted for you. That's when we kind of started thinking maybe we were going to win. Slightly different this time.
Hallelujah! Pull him up! Come on! Let him come up!
This is where the presiding judges drop off all their supplies.
This is democracy at work.
What they're doing is taking the PEBs out of the packages that they came back from the precincts in. They're putting them in a cart to take them to be downloaded into our system. All righty, first set of results coming in.
Yep. Make sure. Ready?
Yep.
Once the polls had closed, Team Ryan gathered at a friend's house. Campaigning over, they watched as their man's fate was decided by the electorate.
I'm in the midst of saying 5 Hail Marys and 5 Our Fathers, hoping that Jesus will listen.
I'd take 51, 28, 20 and a fucking cocaine heartbeat. We quit. It's over. Mahoney's all going to come in at once.
7%. 7%.
New results from Mahoning County have Trafficant now taking votes from her. He's starting to steal votes from her, and if he's not going to do well anywhere else other than Mahoning, really.
There we go. Here we go.
Hold on. Who's this, Trumbull? Hey, babe. We're gonna win. We're kicking our ass in Summit. Right now? Okay. Hey, turn on ONN. Dean's getting interviewed. Hey, Jude. Tell him be real polite and humble. Tell him be real humble. Hold on, action and Trumbull. 56, 27, 16 in Trumbull.
Percentages shake out 51, 32, 16. So we're looking good at this.
I want to fucking win it. I want fucking Kent to come in like gangbusters and fucking beat her ass in Portage.
Hey, you want the totals?
Yeah, Jimmy.
We got 53, 23 in Mahoning, 45, 44 in Portage, 57, 33 in Summit.
You're creeping up to
27. One more.
Me hanging loose for 4 days, baby.
Well, while you're down there, Murph.
The early results were promising, but they still needed one more return to be certain of success.
Yeah! Yeah! This motherfucker's over, boy! Woo! We got ourselves a new congressman, goddammit! Oh, I know.
I don't know if I'm on the way down from the beer, on the way up from the 2 cups of coffee.
10 o'clock.
We're excited.
Can you deal with that?
Can you deal with that?
By the way, you didn't even fucking win your home county. We're winning in Akron by 20 points. We're winning Mahoning County by 20 points. We're winning in Trumbull County by over 20 points. And we're tied in her county where she needed to absolutely destroy us. So, it's over.
No, she doesn't call. We're not waiting around like we did for Sawyer, though. I know that much.
Here we go.
Al.
We're here in Niles, where Tim and many of his supporters are here this evening. You haven't made it to the banquet hall where everybody's waiting.
I think from day one, the only thing we promised was we would work as hard as any other candidate to try to turn the Mahoning Valley around, and that's the plan, and that's the goal for the next few years.
Later on, he'll be at the Malika's Banquet Center cheering on and congratulating, or receiving a lot of congratulations.
We hope so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much. Drive around front and just drop me off.
Amazing. It really is.
Right in front of the door.
No, I like the grand walk. It really is. We're on
grand
the
walk.
Grand walk's nice.
That's money.
Wanna why?
Remember last time?
On the side street. People come running.
Hey, JoJo.
Proud of you, Tim. Proud of you, Connor.
I knew you'd proud of you. Proud of you, baby. Here.
You can't quit. You can't quit.
We gotta go see Grandma. Good to see you.
Shit. You're gonna be the president of the United
Hey, one
States
step at a
one
time.
day.
Hey.
What do you think, baby? What do you think? What I ever tell you? Believe in yourself, baby. You got it, man. Oh, Timmy.
I mean, geez, at least I could move in the primary.
Hey, how are you? Democracy, baby.
Our next 17th district congressman, Tim.
This is definitely the greatest moment in my life. But, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is just the beginning.
Yeah!
This is for Northeast Ohio in the Mahoning Valley.
Campaign over. Tim Ryan was a new representative for the 17th district, winning more votes than his opponents managed between them. But what did this say about American democracy? The Democrat candidate had won in a predominantly Democrat area. Personal attacks and negative campaigning was still very much part of the political process. And despite a turnout more than twice the size of May's primaries, less than half of the district's voters had gone to the polls. But judging by its success, the Ryan team's approach was welcomed by the people of the 17th district, and their disillusionment with negativity, in particular the response to the 9/11 ad, offered hope. 2 years later, Tim Ryan was re-elected with 77% of the district's vote, 50% more than in 2002. Ann Womer Benjamin became director of the Ohio Board of Insurance. And Jim Traficant? Well, in 2004, Jim ran for president. And that is democracy.
You were there when it all began.
I thank the gentleman. I rise in opposition of this bill, but I would like to clarify something. We're not trying to scare kids. This president's foreign policy is what's scaring the kids of this country. And that people have said today, why are people believing this? Why are people believing this big internet hoax? Well, it's the same people that told us Saddam Hussein had something to do with 9/11. Same people that told us Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Same people that told us we were going to be able to use the oil for reconstruction money. Same people that told us that we'd be greeted as liberators, not occupiers. Same people, same president that told us the Taliban is gone. Same president that told us that Poland is our ally 2 days before they pull out. Same president that tells us Iraq is going just great. Same president that tells us the economy is going just great. Same people that told us the tax cut was going to create millions of jobs. Same people that told us that the Medicare program only cost $400 billion when it really cost $540 billion. So please forgive us for not believing what you're saying. Please forgive the students of this country for not believing what you're saying. Not one thing about this war that has been told to the American people or that has been told to these college students has been true. Not one thing. Bremer says we need more troops. The Pentagon says we need more troops. And this president can't get them from the international community. There's only one option left. Let's be honest with the American people.
I'm getting that funny feeling in my pants that I usually get 2 or 3 days before the election when things are going really well. Hitting that bar.
That's the downside about being in this position. Everybody's got a fucking opinion. Like, I don't know, I look tired.
Bust out means it's just completely screwed up. It's just, it's like maybe you try and do something right, but things just aren't working out, and one thing leads to another, and it's just a complete clusterfuck.
That's good.
This is bullshit.
Well, that's the thing. If I hang around the shark, I always tend to look a little better than I normally do.
Thank you.
Because they can compare me to him.
See, but you got to be rejuvenated.
In fact, actually, between the two of us, Shark, we stand either side of me. He looks brilliant anyway.
I thought I asked you to quit being an asshole 6 weeks ago. That didn't faze you.
I'm going to campaign for the other side.
I've had it with this campaign. We're going nowhere. Dean Thomas is the biggest asshole I've ever met in my entire life.
I want you to pickle her a little tonight, Timmy.
Pickle her?
Yeah. Not tickle her, pickle her.
You want to tickle her. You know you do, down deep, don't you? You do. You like her. I know it. Wait till I tell your wife.
I would have taken her skirt and put it up over her head.
It's a timeless tale of boy and girl and chance encounters. You throw in an airport gate, an empty slate, and send some flowers. So I hear that absence makes a lonely heart grow fonder. Is there no limit to where a lonely man will wander? Did I dream you into life, or are you some apparition? My life thus far was filled with useless superstition. If this is real, then what's the price of the admission? Did you know you were my favorite addiction? Chapter in a never-ending story. It's a part that deals with love and life and hope and fate and glory. There's a bad boy. Somewhere in western Tennessee, I jumped the track and headed back to where my heart could rescue me. Spent too many days under the fist of indignation. bought a life subscription to my own imagination in a kind of shade of blue. In a kind of shade of blue. In a kind of shade of blue.